Stay right there. What are you waiting for? Kill them! Kill them both! No, wait a minute. Is it money you're after? I'll give you as much as you want.
May the saints forgive you, because I won't.
I got introduced to Thailand kind of by happenstance. It wasn't my choice to go there. I applied to an organization to teach English overseas, and basically they give you a country and you either take it or leave it. And the thing that they gave me was Thailand, so I accepted. Spent a couple of years there in rural Thailand teaching English, and left after a few years. Kind of came back to America, lived in Chicago for about a year, and then decided I wanted to go back overseas. Moved to basically the first other opportunity that I got, which was in Indonesia. Stayed there for about a year, and I was like, I kind of like Thailand better. So then I went back and taught English again for about 6 more years after that. And during that 6 years, I guess I got really into Buddhism. Not completely from Thailand, because I took a lot of trips around the area. I wound up in Nepal a couple of times to do some treks there. And I think that's mostly what ignited my interest in Buddhism, was more of the Tibetan Buddhist culture that are in the Himalayas and stuff. And when I got back to Thailand after one of the trips, I just started basically devouring any Buddhist book that I could get my hands on, which, I mean, there's a ton of used bookshops in Bangkok and all over the country, really. So I would just get anything that looked interesting to me. That's what I'd read in my free time. And I got acquainted with a local monk during my first time in Thailand. And it's very strange, because he's literally the only monk that I ever talked to in the whole country that like legitimately followed all the rules. Every other monk that I talked to was kind of just, being a monk for the benefits of it, where you don't have to work, you can kind of hang out at the temple all day, you get free food. And they didn't do a great job of, following the 200 and something rules that monks are supposed to do to be a monk. But this guy that I kind of developed a relationship over my entire time that I was in Thailand guided me on the right path. And I eventually became a monk under him. For the first time was just it was like a little over a week, I would say. And that initial experience didn't really sit well with me. It kind of dissuaded me from Buddhism for a long time. But after a few years of processing it, I what's the word? I kind of saw the error of my ways, and then I got like even harder into it, because like once I understand like how I was in my own way, it cleared a lot of things up, and I was able to kind of just dive headlong into Buddhism. And my intention, like the second time that I went to Thailand, when I was there for about 6 years, at one point I was like, all right, I'm just going to work towards becoming a monk, like for as long as I can. And it was on a very slow kind of timeline. Like I was just gradually working on myself and trying to be able to, meditate for as much as I could, like throughout the day, and follow the rules as best as I could, which uh, Thailand, on like from an outsider perspective, doesn't seem like the best environment for that. But something in my psychology, I love being in like a dirty, gritty environment because it kind of reinforces like, hey, if you step out of line, things are going to go really, really bad, really, really quick. Like you can kind of get absorbed in the darkness, I guess, if you kind of get out of discipline. So that like it more reinforced like I have to behave myself as much as I can. And I was doing pretty well. Like it was years in the process. And by the time that I was ready to become a monk, the COVID lockdowns happened and my visa situation was in very rough shape. So basically what happened is I was trying to be a monk as much as I could, and it just happened at the exact wrong time, and there was no way I could make it work legitimately with my visa. So the cheaper option just became to come back to America, which is what I did, and that's how I wound up back here, and that's the situation I'm in at the moment.
Well, that was an incredible story. Thank you for sharing that. I found two things in particular interesting that I may comment on now.
Mhm.
Is that sort of that was it's not my story is not similar in most ways, but there is an element of what you said of going to Nepal and sort of seeing the outer presentation of Tantra.
Mhm.
There is something illuminant in that. It's very explosive. It's very powerful to see those images, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. And it doesn't mean you have to follow Tantra. It just means that it kind of opens the Marga for you.
Right. Yeah. Like it's definitely the Tibetan style artwork that I guess appealed to me the most at first. And it's very strange because I was in Thailand for quite a while before I went over to Nepal. So like I had a Buddhist culture like in my daily life. Like every day I'd see the Thai images, but I guess it just kind of seemed like a normal kind of background like I wasn't excited by it, I guess. Like it just became normal to me. And I was even making plans at one point to move to Nepal and be like kind of stay there to like develop my Buddhist interest, but it like after kind of thinking about it for a while and talking with other people that, were vaguely in the same boat that I was, like on a spiritual path, I guess you could say. They were like, "You're already like in a place that's ripe with Buddhism. Why do you keep like jumping around from place to place? Like why not just settle in right here? Like you're here for a reason, a good monk." And it kind of just clicked on me like, yeah, I'm right where I need to be. I don't need to keep trying to find something else. Like this is perfect for what I needed.
Well, that also opens up like another kind of line of inquiry that I wanted to follow through a little bit, depending on like how much you want to get into it or not. But my family's from Southeast Asia
Mhm.
and Kabatinan, which you may or may not be familiar with after your year in Indonesia. So there are elements of Buddhism. There's elements of Sufism. There's elements of like Balinese Hinduism. There's elements of Tantra. There's elements of Theravadan kind of Tantra, like that kind of Southeast Asian Buddhist Tantra that sort of is unspoken or perhaps even forgotten about. But there are elements of it. So it's like a lot of meditating. It's a lot of like visualizing. It's like martial arts, and it's kind of like if BAP was like a Southeast Asian, it's kind of like that in a way, I guess.
Mhm.
But maybe not as like Nietzschean vitalist quite. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely something like about the mind, about the body, and about like the currents of natural forces that arise in the world. So, all that being said, magical Buddhism has been a part of my life since I was like a little kid.
Mhm.
Not necessarily Thai Buddhism per se, but magical Buddhism, like yantras,
Yeah.
all that, like amulets. Like I've seen everything. I've seen it all. So I didn't really realize it. I thought it was just magic. I didn't really realize it was Buddhism. Like,
Mhm.
and yeah, there's an argument that it's a crooked path. It's not necessarily a Buddhist one. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily like following, the precepts and all that, but it um there is elements of it, and there, just like there is in tantra, like tantra can go very avacharya, very black magic.
Hmm.
That's not tantra, but maybe they include tantric elements. So there is kind of like a thing where I think early exposure to like these ideas and these like kind of magical kind of ways of thinking can, for me at least, help me to understand like deeper things as I got greater in my practices.
Yeah, that's like I totally understand that because it's weird because I guess my first exposure to Thai Buddhism was like the very like straight laced following the rules kind of thing, just because that's the monk that I met first and who I talked to the most about it. But I soonly discovered that most of the country doesn't do that. Like it's more focused on the like that amulet culture, the ghosts and everything like that. And I guess once I fully realized what was going on with that was like around the same time that I got back from my trips in Nepal, and I was kind of interested in the Tibetan Buddhist tantric stuff. So it kind of helped me in a way because it made me realize that Thailand has that too, where it's like a previous uh, like animist, is that the word, animist culture or something that Buddhism kind of integrated into, and yeah, like all the kind of relics and uh, like the monks' bones that turn into crystals and yantras and like that whole culture kind of surrounds it. It's like the sort of mystical periphery of the religion, but it's very specific to Thailand, which um, that book, the Lovelorn Ghost and the Magical Monk by Justin McDaniel, kind of illustrates very well in a academic way. And when I read that book, it kind of it's like a map for navigating what's actually going on in Thailand in a religious sense.
I totally agree with you. I think that these kind of ethnographic narratives of encounters with both the peripheral practices and with like the contour of religion as it is are probably some of the most revealing, most interesting. And I think it's probably better to approach Thai Buddhism the way you did, but it is interesting that Thailand had a largely kind of tantric transmission lineage
Hmm.
pre like 1850.
Yeah, yeah,
So I just think that like it's there, but like you're right, and I think your inclination to be like the method is the marga. So you have to follow the rules,
hmm,
and a lot of people don't like to hear that.
yeah, yeah. It's more the see, like that's the impression I got from it right away. And at the time that I first encountered Buddhism, I wasn't as like I don't want to like I wouldn't say I was ever like super political, but it felt more of the right side of things than the left side of things, which coming from America, I was just indoctrinated to like assume a lot of life was more on like the left side of the spectrum. But when you encounter Buddha, like at least the forest tradition in Thailand, which is the more like straight laced, like conservative version of the Buddhist practice in Thailand, it it was hard to accept at first just because it is that way where you have to follow the rules. Like that's the most important thing.
Do you think that your sort of what happened in 2020 where you weren't really able to continue being a monk, how do you think that influenced you now? Like, how do you think that that made the change? Maybe you stayed on the Marga and you're like just pristine consciousness all the way. But just talk about how it's influenced you and like sort of this away from the monastic life.
Yeah. So I mean, for years I was building up like my building up like conditioning myself to become a monk for as long as I could. So like my mindset was I'm going to be a monk for years at the very least. Like I'm going to do it until I can't do it anymore. And I mean, I was living in a temple for 3 months at one point, like basically as a monk, but I wasn't officially a monk. I didn't get like the ordination or anything, but I was just preparing myself for like any second when I could cross the border and get my visa stuff resolved and come back. without having to pay thousands of dollars and staying in hotels for months, which it wasn't like it was just basically impossible to do that. So as like at a certain point, I just realized this stuff isn't getting resolved anytime soon, and I'm gonna have to go back to America because it's just the cheapest option and the option where I won't get thrown in jail for my visa expiring. So I guess the build up with that sort of mindset where I was gonna become a monk, like you live in the forest, you kind of take life as it comes, which this was just another scenario where I have to take life as it comes. And it wasn't a super difficult thing to do. Like it's just like it's what I have to do. It's the only option that makes sense to me. So I came back, basically just found a job right away, and I've been living in America, but still I guess it's kind of like a maintenance mode Buddhism where over in Thailand, because the culture kind of reinforces it, it's much more laid back. I could, meditate 2 hours a day because I didn't have to work as much. It's very easy to make your money stretch very far. Like you could easily live a month in Bangkok for $300, like somewhat comfortably. It's not like the best, situation, but that's impossible over here. Like I have to work a lot more. So I basically only meditate maybe half an hour a day. I still read Buddhist stuff. Like it's still like, I would say one of, if not the most important things in my life. It kind of guides me. And I have that sort of Buddhist perception with everything that I encounter in daily life. So it's like a guiding force, I guess. And even though I don't feel like I've developed that much since I've come back, I still like maintain it. Like I don't feel like I'm slipping up too much. So it's very different. But I think the skills that I learned in my conditioning leading up to monkhood made it so that I can deal with, this setback in the best way possible. Because I mean, over there I was going to meditation retreats for, 7 days, 10 days, whatever. And over here I can't really do that because they're just not as available. There's not enough people to do them to make it, possible.
You touched on something really interesting that comes up a lot just between like me and other Western Dharma practitioners, is that it is kind of lonely. Like, yeah, you may have a Sangha, you might not. I mean, depends, right? Because everything kind of changed after 2020, like in a fundamental way, especially
Right.
for institutional Dharma. I'm not saying for everybody, but for a lot of people it did. So it is kind of lonely, and it is but it is something that is doable, and I'm really glad to hear that you like feel like it guides you. I also feel like it guides me as an imperfect vehicle as I am. I would like to think it does anyway, and try and do the practices as much as possible, and plant the seeds at least in the West, and see where it goes.
Yeah. And I mean, it was during the lockdown that I first got on Twitter, because I was just living out in the Thai countryside, like up in the Isan area where it's mostly like more Lao influence, I guess. I was just living out there for most of like the actual like lockdown where you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't even like leave the province basically. And yeah, I just got kind of restless when I was in that situation. So I first got on Twitter to kind of like my original intention for getting on there was just to check what was going on with the Thai visa situation. But then I kind of got, interested in like all the people that were on right-wing Dharma squads. I was listening to that podcast and started following them, and then just got kind of wrapped up in the whole Twitter world and basically been there ever since. Just at first, like I think I started posting more mainly just Buddhist stuff on my first account, and then eventually it just turned into like I don't really use it to like engage with a lot of people that much. Like I'm in group chats and stuff, but I don't get in arguments or anything all that much. I just kind of like comment on my friends and like just I post pictures that I like. That's all I really do anymore.
Well, there is power in Kino. So
Yeah.
yeah. And but I think that's what Twitter has become. Like even for me, like yes, I sometimes get into arguments, but I think for the most part, I'm not even really interested in the mainstream political dialogues, and certainly not any of the pop cultural ones that happen on our side, or I don't even know if it's that side even exists anymore.
Mm,
But on our side of Twitter, it doesn't really interest me. And people interest me. Like I'm friends with a lot of people, but
yeah.
what they're necessarily talking about, like I'm much more interested in talking about like conversations like this,
Hmm.
conversations about magic, obviously looking at the real nature of reality, whatever that may be. Obviously it's empty, but maybe we can I try and understand some things in it, in
Hmm.
a in a non-fixed way. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take us off there, but no, I appreciate that, and I think that that is really what Twitter is becoming. I think it's going to be about connectivity rather than Discordianism, although that can also be fun sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it's entertaining to watch, and just see what everybody's getting involved with despite their maybe best efforts. I don't know. It feels like a mess a lot of the times, but
Yeah,
it's an entertaining mess at the very least.
well, just like the carnal ground, right?
Yeah.
Um, so why don't we discuss the book? I know you tried to pivot to that a little earlier, but we'll pivot to it now. But you were right in your initial assessment. Like this is a story of an outsider's magical, or introduction to the magical sort of workings of Buddhism, especially the Mainak
Hmm.
myth. And obviously, you just said that you were located in Isan for a little while. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not. That's not really where the Mainak mythos comes from, but they definitely have their banana fairies, and
Hmm.
you know, uh, I don't know what they call it in the Isan dialect, but in Bahasa they call it Kuntilanak. So it's a yakshini or a pisahachini that lives in the tree, and they're very ferocious.
Yeah.
So
I know that some of the, like, when you get a Thai amulet, there's usually a lot of rules that come along with it. Like if you wear it, you can't do this, you can't do that. And one of the most common ones you hear is don't walk underneath a banana tree, like while you're wearing this, because like I've never tested it out myself, but I'm assuming something really bad happens to you when you do that.
they're very temperamental. That's how they're thought of, and even I think of it more in like a Tibetan tantric way. Whereas I think they take it more in, as you said, like an animistic way. But I think that there's sort of a way to understand both. Like these are just unenlightened, spirit, like tree spirits, nature spirits, lower beings, maybe,
Hmm.
and they have like a ferocious carnal ground appetite. And so for people who have a lot of desires, it makes perfect sense to, well, not maybe not perfect sense, but it makes a lot of sense to sort of form compacts with things like that can have transactional boons. So I think, and also Maynok has become that figure, although she definitely did not really start out as like a banana tree spirit, but she definitely is a ghost, and she definitely has taken manifest form, and people seem to really believe it.
Yeah, and it's kind of ever present in the culture over there. Like every single house in Thailand has on the property this thing called a spirit house where you donate like Fanta and like sweet snacks and stuff every day just to like appease the ghosts and stuff. And with Manak and like specific, from what I remember, I think it's from the north of Thailand, like around maybe Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai area. There's a lot of specific trees that they wrap in their like linen scarves and stuff, and people just present offerings to it at that tree. Like there's a few specific spots like all over Thailand where it's basically a Manak devotional area where you give her things to kind of appease her so that she doesn't mess with your life too much.
That was really well said. Do you want to explain some of her mythology? I kind of jumped right into it,
um I
or at least
honestly,
tell her story.
but is she the one that the soldier went off to war and came
Yes.
back, and okay, yeah, and she died, and the husband didn't know that she was dead, and he kept living with her, um, as a ghost, basically. That I remember that initial part. I'm not sure how the story developed from there. I know that there's like tons of movies about it too.
Tons of movies. Yeah, I've seen most of them. Um, no, that's totally right. That's the premise, right? And then every community, every province, every maybe ethno-linguistic dialect, they kind of remix it to
Mhm.
fit like local concerns, we could say. And but that's basically the story. Is like a man goes off to war. He leaves his pregnant bride behind. She dies, and but when he comes back, she's actually still alive. And but all the villagers also know that she's dead,
Yeah.
except he's the only one that's sort of living in ignorance, you could say. And so it's a very interesting story, and it's like it resolves differently in different sort of mythologies. And also, you brought up something interesting about the Maynok devotional cult. Well, this is very popular among Chinese Thai Buddhists, as well as being like a provincial thing, simply because Taoism, and I'm using that term broadly, but I think it relates to like the Chinese inclination to spiritualism. They believe that any kind of transactional devotion with a spirit is fine. So if that is the spirit that's popular there, like there's you'll see a lot of Chinese Thais, Thai Chinese people at the, at Maynok shrines in Bangkok, as well
Mm.
as at the Tiger Shrine, which is the most famous for ethnic Chinese.
Is that the Tiger Cave, like the one in which I'm blanking on the name. It's not in Bangkok, right? Or is
Yeah, there is one in Bangkok, but there's also another one.
it's not it's one of the beach areas, I thought, like not Hua Hin, but somewhere around that area if I remember right. Anyway, yeah. I think I've been to it, but I just forget which area it was in. Um yeah.
I honestly cannot tell you. I'm the wrong person to ask. My Thai knowledge has waned considerably in the last 5 years because I
Yeah.
just think about other things. But no, you're right. I mean, there's historically there's always been large communities, especially in the south, especially in like Pattaya and all those places, and certainly that Thai Malay border that was like a historical sort of mini Silk Road, we'll call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of influences of that beloved figure, the Chinese tiger god. So definitely, and it also exists in Thailand, obviously, because it's kind of like an Asian. I think of it as an Asian complex. You see tigers being sort of primordial figures all the way from Nepal all the way down to Indonesia, and sometimes they are also worshipped independently, but it's always in the context of a sort of a Kistrapal or local protector, like a protector deity who's sort of beyond good and evil. So
Yeah.
just a fascination for that figure for me.
Yeah, and I went to they have a Sak Yan, the tattoo festival, somewhere outside of Bangkok every year. And I've been to that once, and I remember a lot of the shirts they would sell, it'd be like a monk riding a tiger, like on the shirt. So it's kind of like I guess some sort of Evolian kind of thing where you're taming the wild beast and you become its master. So it's like a dominant kind of thing in a way.
I like that. Good allegory or good analogy. So you brought up something at the beginning that I think ties into what we're discussing right now. So about how a lot of the monks that you saw, maybe the majority, although you didn't say it in like you weren't casting an aspersion on them. You were just
No.
saying in your observation, they didn't follow the rules. So can you get into that? How is monkhood? I know you said a little bit like it's treated more as like a easy job and flexible and free in many ways, but like what is the general Thai attitude towards monasticism and like monkhood as a permanent vocation?
Um, well, the way that excuse me, the way that I kind of navigated it was there's excuse me, just one second. There's two distinct forms of monkhood in Thailand. There's the what they call like the house monks, just kind of the more local ones. They wear kind of brighter orange robes, and just from my impression, because this might not be 100% accurate, but they were kind of the more lax ones, I guess. Like they lived in the local temples. People came to, do the chants with them, and kind of it's kind of like going to church almost, in a way. Like you do it every week, and or maybe every day for some people. You donate food. You accrue merit, which I guess you could loosely translate into English as it's like a luck kind of thing. Like you do this good thing, and karmically, it's going to reap rewards for you in the future. And then there's the Dhamma Yut monks, the forest monks, the ones that live out in the woods. They're more secluded. Like you kind of have to go out of your way to go to those temples. They're always in like a rough area to drive to, because they're just deep in the woods. Like they have to walk a lot further to do their alms rounds every morning. It's just a more disciplined, more ascetic life. But that's not to say that all of them are following the rules either, because I've definitely met a lot of monks in the Dhamma Yut tradition that kind of do the same thing. Like the monk that I stayed in the temple with, he's very picky about who he lets stay with him. And I mean, there was a lot of Thai people that I knew that became monks, and he wouldn't let them do it just because they didn't have the right mindset for it. Like they still wanted to play the lottery or drive cars and stuff. And he's like, if you do, like, you can't live here if you're going to keep doing that. And most of them chose to keep doing that while wearing the monk's robes. So it's a lot of that going on, I think. Like it's like they're more subsumed by the animistic part of it than the actual practice of it. But I mean, if no one's going to kick them out for their behavior, then what's to stop them from continuing to do it?
That's so interesting, because Rahu is, I'm sure as you know, Rahu is very popular for lottery. One of the most popular deities, and he's very important in Tantric Buddhism as well. So, and as well as Indian Tantra, as well as Indian astrology. So it's an interesting idea that you have these semi-Buddhist. I mean, he is a Dharma protector, so I'm not going to say he's semi-Buddhist, but he's not. It's not quite the same. And so they prefer these things that are maybe lower in quality, but it's a kind of Dharma, as misshapen as it can be. But there's something that they're doing that, yeah, it's for worldly benefit and all that. But I think that it's it's the degraded times, and that's kind of Thailand. Like as you said, it's it's rock and roll, but it's also like it's dirty and gritty.
And at the end of the day, like anybody that's pursuing this path has their own path on it. Like you have to, like, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get stuck in bad habits that are going to take years to get out of. But I mean, as long as you're working on it, you're on the right way. It's just like you're not going to be perfect when you're developing. Like you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall short of yourself, like countlessly, until you get to the very end of it. And it's you can't really judge them too harshly for it. Like the only thing that I kind of take issue with is, like, if you're not ready to actually live the life, then you probably shouldn't get like ordained and wear the robes. But even that, you can't, like, I understand it. It's like we're all still humans working on ourselves.
I agree with you. Like I'm not condoning them in any way, but I do know that the thinking is, as I'm sure you do, is the thinking is that it does confer some kind of spiritual power.
Yeah, and like a lot of people, like I guess the masses kind of play into that, because they're always going to them asking them for lottery numbers, and like ideally they would say no, but I mean, it gets them funding for their temple, which they desperately need. So I mean, it's a faulty system, but at least it, I guess, keeps the unbroken 2,000 plus year tradition alive.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's all about how skillful can you manage worldly affairs, because this is something we see in Western Dharma as well. The struggle for certain centers to stay open. Other places are more frequented by people with like higher incomes, so they obviously are better supported, and like how much can you deviate not from Dharma but from like the sort of political ideologies of the contemporary culture. And I think we've seen a lot of Dharma centers fall into sort of certain ways of thinking or certain political lines. And I would argue Dharma's not political, really. Um, but yeah, there's elements of it. There's like it's teaching you how to live a specific kind of life and like aspiration to something greater for sure. So I think that there's all these modern paradoxes that arise, and it's not just. I just want to say it's not just unique to Thailand, but it certainly is in focus, especially for our discussion in Thailand.
Yeah. And the political life over there kind of gets into everything. Like everybody's very passionate about politics. Like there's at least when I was over there, there was the yellow shirts and the red shirts. I don't really know what's going on there in the past 5 years, but I'm sure it's still very hostile no matter what's going on, because it always is. And it's I mean, I guess it's the same everywhere. Like it's just two sides arguing with each other constantly. But even in the temples, like you'll find certain monks that lean one way, even though they're not really supposed to vote or talk about that stuff. But it comes up like everybody knows what every monk's political leanings are, even if they're mostly apolitical. And that kind of plays into who comes to that temple and who doesn't, because I know a lot of people that, like the monk that I was with, he was more of the kind of monarchist type, very, I guess, I don't want to say fascistically oriented, but he's very like militant about following the rules and stuff like that, which I mean, you need for a Buddhist practice. Like you need to be very, very disciplined to do it well. And I understand where he's coming from with that. Like he's very strict with himself, so he expects that of other people. But the more red shirt type people in Thailand, like they won't go to him as much because of that, because he's very, very strict and they're more populists, I guess.
That was very well said. I understand. Maybe this is like the jungle Asianness, but I
Mhm.
do understand the inclination to that kind of monarchical ideas. Like it's just something I don't know. Something it's something in the population they just like that. But as you're right, there are. It's a time of discord as well. It's like a very everything's in flux, everything's decoherent, and so you have like sides fighting against each other, very Rahuvian in a way. It's
Mhm.
like the head and the tail constantly embattled.
Yeah.
So, and if he embodies any particular or any particular country embodies his quality, it would be pretty much all of Southeast Asia. And so, yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's very interesting that you note that people don't go to people whose political leanings don't align perfectly with theirs. And you even put it in the sort of stricture of Buddhism, meaning that yeah, his dharma is going to be more traditional, his transmission is going to be more traditional, it's going to be following the lineage, following the rules. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's just something that I noticed in my own personal experience, because like some of my Thai friends that used to go to him, they kind of weaned off after a while. Like the only reason I know that is just because I saw it happening like throughout the years. Like it's a very gradual thing. I wouldn't have noticed if I was just there for maybe 1 year, but you kind of see things on a longer scale as it happens. And I mean, with that monk that was my teacher, um, like he couldn't speak English very well, and I was learning Thai like when I first met him. But eventually, we got to a point where my abilities in speaking Thai were like good enough to have like normal conversations with him, and I could like explain a lot of things and elucidate what he was trying to say to me to other people. And what a lot of it came down to, his sort of personal philosophy, is that like nature is inherently hierarchical. And once we like, you know, discussed this word hierarchy, it became a lot clearer to a lot of the people like what he was trying to say, or at least it became more clear to me what his point of view of things were. Like you can't escape a hierarchy, and the more you work within the confines of that in a spiritual nature, in while still being in nature, the more success I think you'll have. Which you find that out as a Thai forest monk really quickly, because you're living in a jungle, sometimes in a hut with no walls, so you have to deal with snakes, scorpions, centipedes, like entering into your private chambers all the time, and you got to basically like work with what you got to survive in there. And a lot of it is just like saying the right um, like chants, or just living the life you're supposed to live as a monk, because you get punished, I guess is the way to put it, really quickly for stepping out of line.
Would you say that that experience has influenced your views of karma now?
Yeah, for sure. Uh, like if anything, it reinforced it, because I mean, I take it as a given. I think I always have most of my life. Like your actions do have consequences, no matter, like they could be good consequences, they could be bad consequences. Like there's going to be a action and reaction no matter what. But um, it gets hyper focused when you're in the jungle, I guess. Like you'll wake up in the middle of the night and you'll hear something growling. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to run and make a big scene, or are you just going to stay there and be quiet and like deal with your fears and just see what happens? Like you have to be very, very wise in what you're going to do in that situation. Otherwise it's going to go really bad for you. Like even like when not living in a temple in Bangkok or any of the provinces, really, if you're in a big city, you're going to see like wild dogs running around nonstop. And like in one of my experiences, I was walking around Nong Khai, up on the border of Laos, really late at night, just like walking around the city. And I walked past this temple, and all of a sudden I heard this dog bark, and then I heard a bunch of dogs bark, and they all came out of the temple. I was just like in a back alley by myself, and they started like chasing after me. And in that moment, you have to be like, am I going to run? If I do that, I'm going to get ripped to shreds for sure. Like you're just heightening their passion to catch you and bite you and stuff. Or you can stand your ground, act like you have something in your hand, and act like you're going to throw it at them, and they'll back off, which is the right way to deal with that situation.
That's an incredible story. I think it's also very skillful in a way, because it shows that there's actually people love to distinguish, like you were talking about hierarchies, and obviously in Buddhism we believe in hierarchies.
Yeah.
But the animal nature and human nature are much more closely related than a lot of people would like to believe. And I think in countries with pariah dogs, it is interesting that they become a sort of tantric symbol of the, you could say Mahakala for us, or Bhairava for Indians, but like a ferocious carnal ground deity. Like their manifestation, their appearance in the world, their appearance existence, you could even say, it is really it's not the deity appearing phenomenologically, but there's something about it. There's a quality in it that it is kind of testing you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a very interesting story, and I'm curious to to hear if you had other kinds of experiences like that. It doesn't have to be paranormal, but obviously that is interesting to me particularly. But any kind of like things where you found yourself confronted. I guess that's every experience that if you're a Buddhist, that's every experience
Mm-hmm.
that you're confronted by the nature of your own mind. But if you want to share.
Yeah, like I don't really have many ghost stories, I don't think, but the closest one that I have is I was living in this apartment in Bangkok, and I had a bunch of like Buddhist like statues and things in my apartment, just all kinds of stuff I collected along the years. And this was an apartment that I rented from somebody I knew from work. So a lot of her stuff was still in there. I was just, like, she moved to China, and she owned the apartment, and I rented it from her. So a lot of her things were still in there. And when you enter the apartment, there's this long hallway from the doorway to the main area. And in that hallway, there was this like a stand of some sort. And on top of it, there was this little turtle figurine there. And it was, I'd say, maybe like 10 five or 10 feet or something away from the door. And my door was locked all weekend. Like I didn't leave the apartment at all. And it like I was the only one that came in and I was the only one that left the entire weekend. So that following Monday morning, when I got up to leave for work, that turtle statue was off from the stand and it was sitting right in front of the doorway. And, you know, my first thought was somebody broke in and is just messing with me. But then I asked her, like, who else has the key to this place? And she's like, I'm the only one. I'm in China. And I'm like, huh, very interesting. And I mean, I knew that I was kind of well developed because that didn't really freak me out. I'm like, oh, there's just a ghost in my apartment. That's pretty cool.
What you said was was very interesting, because that is the right way. That's the right way to deal with supernaturalism. And a lot of people tend to forget that. They tend to think of the, the phenomena arising independently of them, rather than it being a part of like their experience, their perception. So very skillful again. Thank you. So why don't we talk about some other experiences in Thailand, maybe with your teacher, and just ways that you sort of disentangled. Okay, so I'll start with this. Is there a Western mindset that is inherently antithetical to Dharma? Because this is an argument, I don't agree with this, but this is an argument that I've heard from other people.
Yeah, at least in my experience, I can't speak for everybody, but I know there was a lot of things that I had to overcome to fully, I guess, grasp the right tools that I needed, or the right perspectives that I needed to kind of get on the Buddhist path. It's like I mentioned earlier, because I was a monk very early in my Buddhist journey, like basically a year after I first discovered it, and it kind of pushed me away from it. But the issue there was that my ego was just way too big. I didn't have the capability to, it sounds weird, but like I didn't have the capability to respect anything, just from, I guess, American indoctrination, or maybe it's my own thing. But it feels like everything is so irony poisoned in America, or you just don't have reverence for anything. Like you feel like whatever you're thinking is 100% correct, and there's no way anything else can be taken seriously outside of you, which is it's a bizarre thing to think, because the things going through your head are just a conglomeration and your own sort of mixing of outside things that you consume, whether consciously or subconsciously. So it took a while for me to understand that, like, whatever I'm thinking isn't 100% right. Like, and the only way to break that, I think, is to find something that you actually can respect and actively respect it. Which, I mean, in Buddhism, that's why people bow to the Buddha. It's a practice that kind of ingrains in your head, like, this person, like, historically, or whatever concept you have of him at the time, with like his teachings, his rules, like, he's a more well-developed person than you are at the moment, like 100%. And you kind of have to consciously know that. And I guess the bowing to him at the temple is a practice of ingraining that in your head, which, when I was living with the monk there, it took me a very, very, very long time to grasp that concept. And I mean, he helped me a lot with it, but you kind of have to find it in your own way, because, like, he'll just constantly say remarks to you like, you're very unskillful. Like, whenever you know, like, you have to kind of, if the monk is like sitting down on the floor, you have to lower your head if you're standing up and walking past him to get beneath his head level, just to like remind yourself, hey, this person, I need to respect him. And I don't feel like Americans have that kind of practice or culture, or like way of behaving over here for almost anything, at least not consciously. It's I'm trying to find another way of explaining it. I guess, like, the thing that I really had to get to kind of get at my watershed moment with Buddhism was, I have to admit to myself that I'm not going to be right. Like I have to put, it's not really faith, but it's like, it's more like a trust kind of thing. A respect that no matter what I think about the Buddhist teachings, they're right. Like I'm not going to try and form my own opinions to make it work out for me. Like I need to adapt myself to the teachings, to the rules, not the other way around.
That was very well said, very profound. I think you're totally right in describing like the very independent, maybe libertine, maybe libertarian-ish inclination of Americans to sort of refuse devotion to an authority like that. I agree with you. That's outside of their sort of like I call it weird Christianity, and in no pejorative way. It's just an observation. In their outside of that. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that it's very difficult in Tibetan Buddhism. Obviously, we have Nyandro, and people often don't finish because they can't do the prostration aspect. Yeah, they can do the Vajrasattva mantra, no problem. But when it comes to doing like the prostrations and taking refuge and cultivating bodhicitta and generating bodhicitta, that is hard. That is hard, and you have to learn what bodhicitta is, and it does. You said something very interesting. It does actually occur outside of yourself. It occurs in you, in your mind, of course, but it's also something about outside of yourself, the relation that you have with other things and obviously other people and other sentient beings. So, yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the issue I think with America is that there's just nothing to respect here. Like, there's like nothing you can, like, at least for me, there's nothing I can like fully devote myself to over here. That like I'm like, yeah, this is 100% correct. I should do whatever this thing says. Like, I don't get that feeling for almost anything. And I mean, maybe people try to do that, but they're always going to be let down by it at some point, I think.
Well, as you know, all truth is relative. Well, most truth is relative anyway. Dharma is obviously primordial, but yeah, I think the reality is that it's harder because, like Thailand, they obviously have more institutional support. That it's like a long running sort of relationship between the monarchy and the at least certain monastic institutions. So they kind of they're deeply embedded in the society, whereas this is like the new world. So there's really nothing. Like, yeah, there's people's ideas and there's maybe memory of 50 years ago, but nothing concrete. It's always like about what can you make it. And so there's something in that requires a particularly kind of skillful dharma. And in my opinion, it is kind of like how I'm going to use a tantric example. I apologize, Cloud.
No
But
problem.
it's when Padmasambhava first went to Tibet through the Kathmandu Valley, and he encountered Ekajati, or who became Ekajati, the ferocious Sri Devi. And that's how I think of it. It's like yeah, America hasn't really had its great tantric subjugator of the worldly spirits yet, but I think that there also is an inclination for people like millennials like us to practice dharma, to experience dharma, and in its many faceted ways. Like, I'm not a tantric supremacist at all, and I've made that joke even on the show. I am a dharma supremacist, but I'm not a tantra supremacist. Although, of course, for me, I like tantra because I have a wild and wrathful mind that needs subjugating. So
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like a more, like I've always heard it's a more dangerous path, which, I mean, that's very enticing to me, but like I just know for myself, I need to go the slow and steady route. That's what kind of tames me and works best with my nervous system, I guess you could say.
well, it's interesting you say that because the shamanic route, the route of like the forest ascetic,
Mhm.
it's considered to be very rigorous in tantra. Like a tantric idea of that would be like it would present its own difficulties and obstacles for sure, and it is actually the kind of polar opposite of like the tantric householder. So there's something really interesting about that. I find it very metaphysical, even as you were saying, the different qualities of orange in the robes, like jackfruit or saffron or
Mhm.
or teak. Sometimes they use the teak wood and they get the browner robes. I mean, it for me, all the colors have specific like meanings, and it's always very tied to like Gautama Buddha's or Siddhartha Buddha's role as the speaker, as like the Buddha, right?
Mhm.
And so that is often how that planet is even expressed in Buddhist astrology, is like that orange, and then obviously the famous emerald Buddha in Thailand.
Mhm.
With both of those colors, that's sort of the expression of that Mercury as a planet, but also like the greater concepts of it being like the power of enlightened speech, which is obviously beyond the planet, but it is, you could say the planet is just like the unskillful way to kind of understand what that is.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know much about the astrological aspects of it. It's like where I'm very lacking with it. But yeah, like I guess for for my development, I always just try to keep things as like what's the way to put it? Like I would say like I get intellectually curious about a lot of things and I would love to study all this stuff, but I found out for myself I need to just like keep things super simple and very practical, I guess. Like kind of going back to what I was saying about the whole respect thing. Like it's not just a mental notion that you respect something. It has to be like an actual, almost like physical um, praxis that you live in everyday life. It's kind of like one reinforces the other, like the mental and the bodily, and uh, kind of works in that way, I guess.
So you basically hit it. It's like praxis. That's the key. In my opinion, that's the key word of Dharma. It's like if you don't have your practice,
Hmm.
you can talk all the nice words and know all the, skillful rhetorical tools, then that's all great and nice. But the reality is, it's like if you don't have that foundational practice, and it also has to be embodied. And that sounds dualistic, and it is, because as you said even before, it's like you don't necessarily like recognize your own nature. So you have to embody those practices even in a dualistic way, at least when you're not skillful, and I'm not skillful. So the you have to do it, because then that's sort of like what sets off the recognition or perception or
Yeah,
clear.
it's like a it's like a holistic practice. Like you need body and mind to be kind of in accord, and like you basically just look out for um, points of resistance, whether it's like physical resistance in your nervous system or like mental resistance, like boredom or just feeling like this is like a waste of time or something. Whenever you get those moments, those are like the most incredibly enlightening moments you can discover things about yourself.
So I think my maybe this won't be my last question, but it'll be like one of the sort of it'll be like a precursor maybe to the last one. How do you foresee, I know this is going to be a big one, how do you foresee Dharma in the next 10 years in the West? Or do you have plans to return to Asia and sort of pursue Dharma there?
Um, I mean, I think for a very, very long time, it's going to be mostly either individual practitioners working and or maybe small communities of like people that have the right idea in mind. I mean, no matter what, it's gonna like you have to kind of weed out, I guess, certain people or discipline them in a way that uh, kind of gets them in line with the right idea. Which I mean, it's gonna put off a lot of people. So it's basically like a lot of chasing away. But personally, um, I just kind of take things as they come. Like if a certain situation presents itself, I'll know how to react to it. Um, I kind of just wait for my moments to kind of pounce on the things. Like I'll recognize the right thing when it comes along. For the moment, like I'm probably going to be in America for a very long time, if not the rest of my life. I don't have any like real plans to return to Asia or anything. But with the development of Buddhist practice here, I think there's so much misinformation that like guides people in the wrong directions, and that's the most powerful force existing in Buddhist meditation or mindfulness or Dharma, whatever you want to call it. Like it's very, very muddled at the moment. So I feel like the people that have the right ideas, we don't really proselytize. Like we don't try to convert everybody. We basically just like wait for people to ask us questions about it, because like I don't want to waste my energy trying to convince people and be off-putting about what I know to be true, because it for whatever reason, like nobody over here wants to hear it. So you kind of just have to wait for somebody who does want to hear it to kind of show them the way so that they can trust you. And that trust has to build up over a long period of time. So like the people that I think have the right idea with Buddhism, we're not all together like in the same location. Like we may be like in certain like ghettos of the internet or something, but you need like a physical space to cultivate it, I feel like. And that'd be the next step, but I don't know what that really looks like at the moment.
So that was a great answer to quite a hard question. I'm very positive. I think your answer was positive, or maybe it was a neutral positive, we'll say. But I'm very positive about the future of Dharma, because I just think that it has, people look at it and think it's saturated because there's Dharma centers in all the major cities and there's all these lineages represented. But I think it's as you say, and I think that the truly skillful people are not out proselytizing per se. They're out living their life and living through example. And in my opinion, that is a very dharmic way to sort of go about showing people the path rather than telling them. But I also think there is a power in not proselytizing per se, although Buddhism is okay with that, obviously. But I think that there is a skill maybe in speaking to people. Obviously, you have to take into account where they're at. And as you said, like, you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to invest in unfruitful conversations or unfruitful, not a student, but like a sort of like that. It's a kind of like a teacher-student relationship, maybe not formal. But so yeah, I agree. I think there's a way to navigate it, and it's like with all things in the modern West, it's difficult. It's a challenge. It requires different views and the ability to be flexible, I think, in how we, not necessarily how we practice Dharma, but how we interpret it and then articulate it to others.
Yeah, definitely. It's basically all you can do, like as an individual, is live by example in the best way you can. So yeah, I mean, that what you just said sums it up perfectly. I guess inherently I'm like I'm more of the depressive, pessimistic type, but I'm not like unhappy or anything. Like I'm still hopeful for the future of the cultivation. I think in the end, like I'm almost positive in the end, it will get to where it needs to be, just because it's the truth. Like you can't deny it. It's the way. It's like the word in Thai for nature is Dhammachat, which means clear nature. Like it's the true nature rules hierarchy for humans existing in nature.
That's very profound, because obviously that is, that's the essence of everything. Like, you can take Tantra and take away all the implements, all the aesthetics, and the primordial truth is really empty and pristine and luminous and clear, like the day sky. So, and the night sky as well, of course, because we're tantric, right? That was an amazing Dharma conversation. I have not had one of these since Jigoku Keiki came on, so I really appreciate it. It was very reifying and edifying as well. And thank you so much, Cloud. And if you want to plug your Twitter, I know that you keep it on lock, but if maybe if you're feeling generous and want to approve people if they listen, give people your Twitter just in case.
Yeah, my Twitter is a wayward cloud, and then wayward cloud, all one word. I do keep it on lock now, but basically my rule of thumb is if somebody asks to request like a follow, as long as I see other people that I know following them, I'll accept it. If anybody else has like wants me to follow them, just, get somebody that knows me to get in touch with me, and I'll accept it too. I just got tired of like everybody complaining about me not citing the artwork that I post, because like I just don't care that much to do it.
We won't go into that, but for sure, I've encountered very much of the same issues, so I understand. But yes, a very Kino account. It's a like hidden away, perhaps like the primordial truth. It's not apparent at first view. So thank you so much, and you're of course welcome back, and anytime to discuss whatever you want. And I hope you had fun.
Yeah, thank you. This was a really great conversation. I really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Great. Yeah. No, I appreciate it too, and thank you, and have a great day. And I'm really glad we can make this work.
Yeah, thank you. You too. See ya.